Everyone loves a good UFO story, don't they? Remember all that fuss about the damaged wind turbine last month? There's certainly no shortage of people seeing things they can't explain. Indeed, according to recently declassified MOD files, there were 285 UFO sightings across the UK last year, many of them filed by Londoners, including one eyewitness account of a flying saucer hovering above Westminster. Dougie Anderson set out to meet the men and women who investigate these mysterious cases and to discover why London is such a magnet for UFOs.
A UFO sighting occurs somewhere on the planet every 3 minutes.
I could not believe my eyes. It was massive, and this was going just above rooftops.
A poll in 1991 said that 4 million Americans believe they have been abducted.
We've had a few deeply disturbing cases where people believe that they're not actually humans at all, they're aliens.
Winston Churchill reported a strange airship in Kent in 1912.
What can it mean? What is the truth?
In the last few years, the UK has seen a massive surge in UFO sightings. All over the country, people are seeing lights in the sky, objects that are faster and more manoeuvrable than any known aircraft. And London's getting its fair share.
Whoa, what the heck is that? That's so weird.
If you do see something, who do you call? Nick Pope used to run the MOD's official UFO hot desk. For 3 years, he investigated countless London sightings.
Is London truly a hub for UFO sightings? Is it a big hotspot?
It is the hotspot. I know from my work at the MOD, from having plotted these out on maps, if you want to go anywhere in this country to see a UFO, come to London.
What descriptions of UFOs do you actually get?
They come in all shapes and sizes, but the popular ones are spherical, the classic saucer-shaped UFO, and increasingly these days, triangular-shaped craft.
Despite the MOD releasing declassified documents concerning UFO sightings in the capital just last year, not everyone is convinced that the government's telling the truth when it comes to alien encounters. One such man is Roy Lake. Roy believes the government knows that aliens are visiting our capital, and after 50 years of investigation, he can exclusively reveal London's extraterrestrial hotspot. Tell me where to go to see a UFO.
Walthamstow area, Chingford. A lot of reports been seen over there.
Walthamstow, so we're talking to East London, Essex way, is that?
That's right, East London. Obviously, these things like a lot of where there's a lot of water. Now you've got the 3 reservoirs. And on one occasion, years ago, there was a report that one of these objects went into one of the reservoirs.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
Definitely. And heard this kind of wom noise, and I could not believe my eyes. I saw this craft, it was massive, so I phoned Nick Pope up. I said, Nick, you've got a triangle-shaped craft in towards London. And all I got from Nick at the time was, oh, right.
What exactly are people reporting? What are they seeing?
People are reporting a vast number of different things. I know from my government work that, of course, 95% of them can be explained as misidentifications of perfectly ordinary objects and phenomena. Aircraft lights, satellites, meteors, bright stars and planets, and recently, of course, these so-called Chinese lanterns.
With so many Londoners reporting easily identifiable objects, one UFO organisation has set up a trainee investigators scheme. Exact details of the course are a closely guarded secret.
We decided that there was a real need for standardisation in the subject so that anybody who wished to portray themselves as a UFO investigator would at least have some basic training in investigative techniques, in detection techniques, in identification techniques, so that he could go out to a case armed with some knowledge and information about what people commonly perceive to be UFOs.
Before us, successful students can expect to deal with countless cases of misidentification.
What was the kind of craziest story you ever heard?
The funniest one I received was from a gentleman who was reporting a UFO sighting in progress, and he said, look, this is hovering over the park. He said it's a diamond-shaped object. And I thought for a moment, and I said, well, couldn't be a kite, could it? And he said, no, don't be ridiculous. And then his voice started getting more and more excited. He said, it's coming down, it's coming down. And then there was a long pause, and he said, they're putting it back in its box. It was a kite, sorry.
Cases like this can be easily resolved by London's UFO investigators. Hard evidence, including video footage, is harder to dismiss. Chris Martin films and studies UFO footage. In the last few years, he's captured some incredible objects in the skies over London.
This particular object was filmed in East London, just quite local to here. And this metallic orb, approximately 20 feet diameter, appeared directly above me, complete standstill.
Yeah, you didn't
Start
see it
to
coming.
film,
Yeah.
and then it just start to accelerate away. These things are silent, small.
So that's the key to a lot of UFO sighting is the fact that there's no noise with them. That's
They just don't fit. They don't fit the characteristics of the sort of aircraft we have.
What are the most memorable London sightings?
One that stood out for me was that late at night, a number of people were walking over Waterloo Bridge, and suddenly someone saw something, stopped, pointed, and a number of other passers-by stopped, and they were looking at a UFO right over central London. It clearly wasn't an aircraft, it was a genuine mystery.
Have there been any abductions that you know of in London?
Yes, certainly. I've come across at least a dozen cases that I can recall where Londoners say, yes, this has happened to me.
You've been to a support group for alien abductees, haven't you?
That's right. There's a group called the Witness Support Group, and they have regular meetings. There are members who are in the police force and in lawyers and doctors, and it would be very damaging to their careers if this interest in this subject were to come out.
These people, I'm convinced, are being truthful. They genuinely believe they've had these experiences, and there's no evidence of any psychopathology with them in the studies that have been done. However, whether they've literally been taken into a spaceship, or whether there's some other phenomena, possibly a psychological one that we don't yet fully understand, I don't know.
Well, I had one woman, she had kept on having pregnancies, and she couldn't understand why she was being pregnant, because she'd never been with anybody.
And they look like aliens?
No, they looked like human beings, but their eyes were totally different to ours. They were slanted, but rather large. The hair was stringly, but the rest of them, just like human beings.
Isolated cases such as this, and a general fear of ridicule, mean many Londoners will never report their experience, a trend Nick Pope would like to reverse.
I would actively encourage people who've seen something, report it to the Ministry of Defence, report it to the civilian UFO investigators, report it to the local media.
So I've met the gurus of the London UFO scene, and this is what I've learned. Number one, always have a camera on you at all times. Number two, keep an open mind. And most importantly of all, number three, don't be averse to looking up once in a while.
I've never seen a UFO myself, but if you have, and you had the photos to prove it, well, we'd love to have a look. Why not send them in, and we'll post the best ones on our website. I'll remind you of the address in just a moment, but first, let's have a quick look at what's coming up on next week's show.